In a scandal rocking royal foundations, Prince William has leapt to the defense of Princess Anne after a shocking insult from Queen Camilla's daughter, Laura Lopes, stunned the palace. At a high-profile charity gala in October 2025, Laura allegedly mocked Anne as irrelevant, a remark overheard by journalists and aristocrats alike. The fallout was swift and fierce. William publicly praised Anne days later, refusing to attend any event where Laura was present. Behind the scenes, palace tensions exploded. For many, this moment wasn't just a family rift, it was a turning point in royal loyalty and the future of the crown. The unexpected insult. In a moment now etched in scandal, Laura Lopes, daughter of Queen Camilla, ignited a royal crisis with a single snide remark. During a charity gala on October 19, 2025, held at Spencer House in central London, she was overheard describing Princess Anne as irrelevant and outdated, words that would ripple through every corner of the royal family. Several aristocrats and at least 2 journalists from reputable outlets confirmed hearing the insult. Within 24 hours, the comment leaked, dominating front pages and social media feeds across the UK. Witnesses claim Laura's tone was dismissive as she joked about Anne's never-changing hairstyle and Victorian view of service. For some, it was a poorly timed quip. For others, a direct swipe at the monarchy's most dutiful and long-serving member. The insult struck a nerve not just because of its target, but because of what it represented. A generational jab from a non-titled royal adjacent to a woman who's carried the monarchy on her shoulders since the 1970s. Public backlash was immediate. Commentators from ITV to The Times condemned the remark, calling it insulting, tone-deaf, and emblematic of overreach. Royal fans, many of whom view Anne as the embodiment of quiet strength, rallied online in her defense. Hashtags like #StandWithAnne and #TrueRoyal began trending by the evening of October 20th, with thousands demanding that Laura Lopes be banned from future royal engagements. The insult had crossed an invisible line, from personal slight to constitutional disrespect. Within palace walls, the atmosphere turned electric. Aides scrambled to contain the fallout, but the damage was done. For a monarchy already walking tightropes of public trust and internal balance, the remark cut deeper than expected. It wasn't just a comment, it was a challenge to the system itself. And for Princess Anne, known for her stoic sense of duty, the response would be measured, but unforgettable. While public outrage grew louder with every headline, the woman at the center of the insult remained characteristically silent. Princess Anne, never one for theatrics, chose dignity over drama. But behind closed doors, even the most unshakable royal has limits. Her silence was not weakness, it was a statement. And it would become the quiet force that pulled Prince William, the heir in waiting, into the heart of the storm, with a loyalty no one would soon forget. Princess Anne's steely silence amid the storm. As the media frenzy intensified, Princess Anne, now 73 years old, stood unmoved. No statement, no retaliation, no palace leak. True to her lifelong reputation, she simply continued her packed schedule of public duties, including a military memorial in Portsmouth and a rural development summit in Wales, logging 6 appearances in 5 days after the scandal broke. It was classic Anne, disciplined, unshaken, and unimpressed by headlines. Yet sources close to her household at Gatcombe Park confirmed the sting was real. Behind her trademark bluntness and military efficiency, Anne was deeply offended, according to one senior aide. But she reportedly told staff, "I've outlasted far worse than gossip." The remark may have felt beneath her, but it revealed a palace truth. Anne's power lies not in titles or proximity to the crown, but in decades of unbroken service, especially after the Queen's passing in 2022. Anne has long been the royal family's unsung engine. With over 400 engagements annually, military affiliations across 13 regiments, and decades of quiet diplomacy, she commands respect across governments and generations. As the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II and Charles's eldest sibling, she holds a rank that few dare challenge. Even fewer succeed in doing so. To insult Anne is to insult the monarchy's backbone. Her silence, paradoxically, only made the insult louder. The public read it not as detachment, but as integrity. Polling by the Royal Mirror Institute showed 84% of respondents believed Anne handled the incident with grace and strength, while 68% said Laura Lopes's behavior was damaging to Camilla's legacy. The moment became less about what was said, and more about who refused to dignify it. Anne didn't need to speak. Her restraint spoke volumes. But as Anne remained poised, others in the royal family were not so serene. One figure in particular found the insult too blatant, too dishonorable, too disrespectful to go unchallenged. Prince William, heir to the throne and son of the woman Anne always defended, Princess Diana, stepped forward with rare emotional candor. This wasn't just palace etiquette, it was personal. And in defending Anne, William wasn't just standing up for tradition, he was defining the values of his future reign. William takes a stand. Just 5 days after Laura Lopes's remark, Prince William delivered a speech at a Royal Naval College ceremony in Dartmouth, where he praised Princess Anne as a model of enduring royal service and strength. The line, unprompted and unscripted, earned immediate headlines. According to sources in attendance, it was the most emotional moment of the evening, and a pointed message to those who had disrespected the monarchy's quiet anchor. It was clear, William wasn't playing diplomat. He was making a stand. Behind the scenes, tensions had already erupted. William reportedly confronted Queen Camilla during a private family dinner at Highgrove on October 24th, expressing disappointment in Laura's behavior and Camilla's failure to publicly rebuke it. When a private event hosted by Clarence House extended an invitation to Laura the following weekend, William declined to attend. A royal insider confirmed he wouldn't be in the same room with someone who insulted Anne and wouldn't apologize. This moment signified more than family loyalty. It was a generational shift in royal power dynamics. William, who often avoids confrontation in public, showed rare directness. It wasn't about optics, it was about principle. For a man groomed to inherit the crown, choosing to defend his aunt over appeasing his stepmother's daughter was a subtle but unmistakable assertion of his values: loyalty, dignity, and earned respect. No cameras were needed to understand the message. Public response was swift and supportive. Polls conducted by the Daily Chronicle showed William's approval among older royalists rose by 12%, with many praising his moral clarity. Commentators described the incident as a quiet reckoning within the firm. In a monarchy long plagued by internal rifts, William's choice to defend Anne wasn't just timely, it was historic. And in the court of public opinion, the future king's crown shone just a little brighter. But not everyone in the palace viewed William's actions as righteous. Behind the grandeur of Clarence House, anger simmered. For Queen Camilla, the fallout wasn't just personal, it was political. Her daughter's place at royal events was now under scrutiny, and her own influence, already fragile among some royals, faced a new test. The insult that began with a whisper had become a battlefield, where titles, roles, and legacies were suddenly at stake. Tensions boil over at Clarence House. As word of William's rebuke spread across palace corridors, Clarence House became a powder keg. Tensions between Camilla's camp and the rest of the royal household, especially those aligned with William and Princess Anne, escalated behind closed doors. Sources describe the atmosphere from October 25th to 31st, 2025, as glacial. Staff reportedly avoided shared meetings, and cross-household communication was reduced to formal memos. The mood? Muted but volatile. According to a senior aide, Camilla attempted to downplay the scandal in private meetings, telling confidants the remarks were misinterpreted or taken out of context. But Anne, known for cutting through flattery, was unimpressed. She reportedly told her private secretary, "I don't need apologies that only exist in footnotes." Despite pressure from some senior advisors, Anne refused to meet with Camilla directly, a decision many interpreted as a quiet freeze. King Charles, ever the bridge between two increasingly divergent factions, attempted to mediate. He called both William and Anne to Balmoral for a private conversation on October 30th, hoping to cool the situation before Remembrance events. While William remained composed, sources say Anne was firm, curt, and unwilling to entertain excuses. Charles's neutral stance, declining to publicly denounce Laura's remarks, only made things worse. William left disappointed. Anne left furious. Behind palace doors, the fallout was felt most keenly in staffing circles. Several longtime Clarence House aides reportedly expressed concern over Camilla's handling of the situation, with one describing her defense of Laura as tone-deaf. A growing number of insiders now quietly question whether Camilla's personal loyalties are compromising her ability to maintain harmony within the monarchy. And for those loyal to the crown, not individuals, that question is becoming dangerously loud. Yet, in the heart of the storm stood the woman at the scandal's center. Laura Lopes, untitled, unelected, and increasingly unwelcome. With no official royal role yet significant access to courtly privileges, Laura's influence has sparked criticism for years. But now, after a single careless comment, her presence has become a flashpoint. And as pressure mounts, even long-time royal watchers are asking, what place, if any, should she hold in a monarchy built on earned service? The untitled royal with too much influence. Though she carries no royal title, Laura Lopes, now 47 years old, has long enjoyed elite access to royal events, family retreats, and high-profile ceremonies. A successful art curator, married to Harry Lopes, heir to a Cornish aristocratic estate, Laura has often walked the line between royal privilege and civilian anonymity. But in the aftermath of her remark about Princess Anne, critics say she's crossed that line, drawing attention to a deeper issue: influence without accountability. Laura's inclusion at key royal gatherings, from Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee in 2022 to Charles's coronation in 2023, has been quietly controversial. While her brother Tom Parker Bowles maintains a low profile, Laura has often been seen mingling among senior royals, sometimes seated prominently, despite having no formal duties or constitutional relevance. Royal insiders say her presence is largely due to Camilla's insistence, a dynamic that many staffers have called delicate but divisive. The Anne scandal, however, pulled back the curtain. Past incidents, once whispered, are now resurfacing. A 2021 event where Laura allegedly described commoners in charity circles as terribly performative made headlines again. In 2019, she was criticized for comments about Kate Middleton's fashion being overly safe during a Vogue charity gala. Each incident passed quickly, but now they are being recast under a harsher spotlight. Laura's behavior is no longer just a quirk, it's a pattern. Public pressure is mounting. Over 15,000 signatures were added to an online petition titled "No More Seats for Step Royals" within 72 hours of the insult going viral. Palace advisors are reportedly drafting new internal protocols to clarify roles for extended family. The message from the public is resounding. Access to the monarchy must come with responsibility or not at all. And for Laura, the days of unchallenged insider status may be numbered. As Laura's reputation erodes, one figure stands taller than ever before. The public, rarely unanimous in its royal loyalties, has thrown its weight behind Princess Anne, and by extension, against the blurred boundaries Camilla's family has introduced. Social media, polling, and press coverage all point to a single truth. In times of scandal, the public values service over society, duty over drama. And in this case, Anne wears both her silence and her legacy like armor. Anne praised, Camilla's camp criticized. In the court of public opinion, the verdict came swiftly and decisively. Princess Anne is the hero. Within a week of the scandal, over 80% of respondents in a BBC/YouGov royal favorability poll sided with Anne, praising her as the most consistent and honorable member of the family. Social media amplified the sentiment, with hashtags like #DignityInDuty, #NotYourStepMonarchy, and #WeStandWithAnne drawing millions of views on TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram. Editorials across the UK, from The Telegraph to The Guardian, defended Anne's contributions over decades. Phrases like "the monarchy's moral compass" and "our last true royal" dominated headlines. Even former critics acknowledged that Anne, by doing nothing, had done everything right. Her silence, discipline, and consistent work ethic became symbolic of what the public still values in the royal institution: steadfast service without spectacle. In contrast, Camilla's camp took another reputational hit. Already navigating a fragile acceptance from the public following her controversial rise, the Queen Consort's defense of Laura seemed dismissive. A Mirror editorial asked pointedly, "Why protect a daughter who insults a sovereign's daughter?" Camilla's popularity rating dipped by 11 points, and palace commentators speculated that this scandal had reawakened old resentments, especially among loyalists of Diana's legacy. For Laura Lopes, the fallout was brutal. Memes mocking her non-royal entitlement flooded platforms, and online petitions calling for her exclusion from future events continued to gain traction. Royal advisors are reportedly urging Clarence House to quietly reduce Laura's public presence. But for many royalists, the damage is done. In this moment of crisis, the line between born royal and royal by extension was drawn in ink, and the public is defending that boundary with unflinching clarity. Yet, while Anne holds the public's favor and William stands tall in moral conviction, one figure remains caught in the emotional crossfire. King Charles, torn between his wife and his sister, faces the most delicate balancing act of his reign. And in trying to keep peace behind palace walls, he may find himself sacrificing more than unity. He may be risking the loyalty of his own bloodline. Behind the scenes. While Catherine, Princess of Wales, maintained her usual poise in public, insiders say her support for Princess Anne was quietly resolute. On November 1st, 2025, just days after the scandal broke, Catherine reportedly made an unannounced visit to Gatcombe Park, Anne's private residence in Gloucestershire. The visit wasn't listed in the court circular, but palace aides confirmed the two women spent several hours in private conversation over tea in Anne's study, a space usually reserved for official business or family-only matters. A senior royal source close to Kensington Palace revealed that Catherine had confided in staff, saying Anne deserves better than to be insulted by someone who's never served a day for the crown. While not an official statement, the message was unmistakable. Kate stood with Anne, firmly and personally. It's a move that reflects Catherine's growing behind-the-scenes influence. A future queen not only skilled in public diplomacy, but also fierce in her quiet allegiances. The bond between the two women has strengthened in the years since Queen Elizabeth II's passing in 2022. Both uphold values of service over showmanship, and both have earned reputations for getting the job done without drama. Insiders describe their relationship as grounded in mutual respect, not performance. Unlike many palace connections, theirs has no pretense. And in this latest firestorm, that alliance has crystallized into something more, an intergenerational partnership built on loyalty and legacy. William's open defense of Anne and Catherine's private show of support are now seen as a coordinated message. The next reign will value character over clout. As the Waleses shape their royal court, voices like Anne's aren't being silenced. They're being elevated. And for the British public, this visible alignment of duty-bound royals is deeply reassuring. In a family too often fractured by ambition, this trio is stitching a future from the threads of integrity. But even as loyalty flourishes between Anne and the Waleses, one man remains trapped between allegiance and affection: King Charles III. With his wife wounded by criticism and his sister strengthened by public support, the monarch faces a brutal reckoning. In this unfolding family drama, Charles must decide: does he protect his blended household at the risk of alienating his son and sister, or does he risk his marriage to preserve the monarchy's moral center? King Charles torn between wife and sister. For King Charles, the fallout from Laura Lopes's remark is more than a PR nightmare. It's a deeply personal family fracture. Caught between Queen Camilla, his wife of 18 years, and Princess Anne, his only sister and lifelong ally, Charles faces an emotional impasse. Sources close to Buckingham Palace describe the monarch as exhausted and torn, spending late nights reading public responses and meeting privately with advisors to assess the damage. Charles reportedly summoned Anne for a private audience at Windsor Castle on November 3, 2025. The conversation, while cordial, was described by staff as icy in tone. Though he stopped short of an apology, Charles acknowledged that the remark should not have been made. Anne, as always, did not demand contrition, but she made her displeasure clear. One aide reported she left with her chin higher and her tolerance lower. It was a turning point. The sibling bond strained, but intact. Meanwhile, Camilla's reaction was less restrained. Furious that Charles did not publicly defend Laura, she was overheard saying, "I will not have my daughter thrown to the wolves because Anne refuses to evolve." Her frustration reportedly boiled over during a private dinner with friends at Clarence House, where she questioned why Catherine gets to play queen already. For a woman who once climbed her way through scandal to coronation, this moment feels like a reversal. Behind the emotional turmoil lies a larger institutional issue. The blending of two families, the Windsors and the Parker Bowles, was always going to be fragile. But Charles believed he had succeeded in forging unity. Now, with his son siding against his wife's daughter, and his sister refusing reconciliation. The king faces a dilemma no throne can solve: how to lead a monarchy when your own court is divided by blood and bond. And as the internal fractures grow deeper, the world watches. The British public, long weary of palace politics, finds itself once again enthralled and disillusioned. The scandal is no longer confined to dinner parties or tabloids. It's on newsstands, in classrooms, and around kitchen tables. And while the royals attempt to regain control of the narrative, the media machine has already begun rewriting the story in bold headlines and sharper questions. Media firestorm and royal image damage. Within 48 hours of Laura Lopes's remark going public, the British press erupted into a frenzy not seen since Harry and Meghan's 2021 Oprah interview. Tabloid headlines shouted betrayal. Camilla's daughter disrespects Queen's daughter, and William wages war within dominated front pages from the Daily Mail to the Sun. Even broadsheets like The Times and The Independent joined the fray, calling the insult a slap in the face to the Crown's most loyal subject. Palace press offices scrambled. On November 2nd, an official statement from Clarence House vaguely referenced unfortunate misunderstandings, while Kensington remained silent. The lack of a direct apology only deepened public resentment. Media commentators questioned the Queen Consort's judgment, and royal analysts began revisiting past tensions between Camilla's family and the Windsor bloodline. Even late-night comedians in the US took aim, joking that Camilla's daughter has achieved the impossible, uniting Britain behind Princess Anne. For the palace, the concern went beyond headlines. It was the optics of hierarchy breaking down. Behind the scenes, the Royal Communications Office met daily to assess damage control strategies, eventually deciding to limit Laura Lopes's visibility at public events for the remainder of the year. The firm's greatest fear was unfolding, that the public might once again see the monarchy as a dysfunctional family rather than a stabilizing institution. Royal historians were quick to contextualize the moment. "Every monarchy survives on image," said one expert during a BBC panel on November 4th. And right now, the image is fraying. The scandal drew painful parallels to past royal rifts: Diana and Charles, Andrew and the Epstein affair, even Edward VIII's abdication. Once again, personal tensions were haunting the House of Windsor. And this time, no amount of pageantry could obscure the cracks. But when the last headline fades and the final apology is issued, what remains? For the monarchy, scandals come and go. But some moments leave scars. Others shift power. This one may do both. Because beyond the gossip, beyond the outrage, loyalties have been tested. And as alliances harden and fractures deepen, a new royal map is being drawn. One that may define the next generation's court, not by bloodline alone, but by earned devotion. The long-term impact. What began as a careless remark has reshaped the internal architecture of the royal family. In defending Princess Anne, Prince William didn't just show moral clarity. He staked his claim as the monarchy's emerging anchor. Palace insiders now speak of a Windsor bloc forming behind William, Catherine, and Anne, a trio seen as custodians of duty, legacy, and public trust. Their bond, strengthened through crisis, is already shaping the tone and structure of the monarchy's next chapter. Conversely, Camilla's standing has suffered. While she remains Queen Consort, her influence within palace operations has reportedly diminished. Aides from Clarence House have been reassigned to Windsor, and discussions about redefining extended family roles are now underway. Laura Lopes, once seen as a potential friendly face for the monarchy's modern wing, is now viewed as a liability. There are whispers that she may no longer be invited to Trooping the Color 2026 or included in official Jubilee events. Public sentiment remains firmly on Anne's side. A YouGov study from November 5th showed 72% of respondents agreeing that only working royals should appear on palace balconies and state occasions. The message is clear. Loyalty isn't a birthright. It's a track record. And Anne, after more than 50 years of service, has earned her place not only in the firm, but in the hearts of its people. This moment has lasting consequences. It reshapes palace dynamics, clarifies succession loyalty, and cements the values the future monarchy will uphold. William's defense of Anne wasn't just protective, it was prophetic. The royal court is evolving, and while titles can be inherited, the public's respect must be earned. In the House of Windsor, loyalty to the crown now means standing for service, not just standing on ceremony. As the royal family scrambles to restore order, public opinion has drawn a clear line. Princess Anne, the monarchy's enduring workhorse, stands tall in dignity, while Camilla's inner circle faces growing criticism. William's rare public stance has solidified his moral leadership, aligning him firmly with the crown's legacy of service. The controversy has left lasting cracks across Clarence House and Buckingham Palace, reigniting old divisions and prompting new questions about who truly belongs in the inner royal circle. One thing is certain: the monarchy may survive scandals, but it thrives only when duty, not entitlement, guides its future.